Have you ever had one of those weeks? You know the kind I'm talking about.
Oh, I think we all do.
The kind where you think, okay, surely this is the basement level of my life. And then the universe looks at you, hands you a shovel, and just says, start digging.
That is a perfect description
Yeah.
because that is exactly where we're starting today.
It is, because today we are diving into a story that starts right there in that basement. It's a deep dive into The Slow Burn by Ali Rosen.
And when you say basement level, in this case, we are talking about a very literal, an incendiary rock bottom.
Yeah.
We aren't just talking about a bad day at the office. We are talking about the kind of disaster that divides your life into a before and an after.
Literally. We are talking about a protagonist who watches her life, her entire identity, just go up in smoke. But what I love about this book, and what we're going to really unpack today, is that it takes that classic trope, the woman flees her disaster life for Italy trope.
You've all seen it.
We've seen it a million times in movies and books. And this story, it completely flips it on its head. This isn't a soft, fuzzy watercolor painting of a vacation.
Not at all.
This is gritty, it's sweaty, it's full of garlic, and a lot of awkwardness.
It is, and it's worth noting right off the bat that the authenticity you're feeling, especially in those kitchen scenes, it comes from a very real place.
Right.
Ali Rosen isn't just a novelist who's, guessing at what a professional kitchen feels like. She's a cookbook author. She wrote Modern Freezer Meals and Bring It. She's also a TV host.
So she knows. She's lived it.
She knows exactly what she's talking about. So when she writes about the tension of a line cook or the specific mechanics of, say, emulsifying a sauce, this isn't a fantasy of cooking. This is the work of cooking.
Exactly. And that's really the mission for this deep dive. We want to explore how this book balances this idea of a second chance at life with a romance that is quite literally a slow burn.
It definitely earns its title.
It really does. And we're going to do it all against this backdrop of culinary details. So realistic, you might actually get hungry listening to us.
I can almost guarantee it.
So grab a snack, maybe a nosh stick if you can find one, though I suspect you might prefer some good focaccia after this. And let's get into it. Let's meet our main character, Kit Roth.
Kit Roth. She is such a fascinating protagonist because she is, well, she's somewhat difficult. And I mean that as a compliment.
I know exactly what you mean.
In a world of, super likable, bubbly heroines, Kit is all sharp edges. She's an executive chef in the high-stakes world of New York City fine dining. And her whole identity, her entire sense of self, is defined by her work.
She has this amazing description for herself. She calls herself a rooted succulent.
I loved that description. It's so specific.
It is, isn't it?
Think about what a succulent is. It's a plant that, it thrives on neglect. It stores water because it expects a drought.
Does it need to be coddled?
Exactly. Kit views herself as stoic, as primed to survive without sunlight. She just wants to plant herself in the most prestigious soil possible and be left alone to succeed.
And that stoicism isn't just a personality quirk, right? It's something that's been trained into her.
Oh, absolutely. We learned she's a former rower. She was on the crew team in college.
Which is such a crucial detail for understanding her psychology.
It really is. Rowing is a sport that is defined almost entirely by your pain threshold. It's not just about strength, it's about how much lactic acid you can tolerate in your muscles while keeping your face completely neutral.
Right. It's the ultimate poker face sport.
It's about suppressing the body's scream to just stop. And that is Kit's whole approach to life. She thrives on the sterility and the control of a stainless steel kitchen because it's a place where her discipline can conquer any chaos.
And then chaos hits. The double whammy.
The double whammy.
First, her beloved restaurant, her sanctuary, the place she has poured every single ounce of that discipline into it, literally burns down. A fire.
Yeah.
She watches it happen.
It's not just a job loss. It's a complete identity loss. Everything she built is just ash.
And then, as if that isn't enough, the very next day, while she's still hungover from tequila and, mourning her entire career, the secondary trauma hits. Her boyfriend, John, dumps her.
And the way he does it, it is just infuriating.
It made my blood boil. John is an investor, a hospitality group head. He's the suit in the relationship, and he uses the fire as an excuse.
It's a masterclass in corporate gaslighting disguised as nobility. It really is.
How so?
Well, he told her things like, "I'm only holding you back," or "You don't have time for me." He frames the entire breakup as a favor to her, as if he's setting her free to be her magnificent, work-obsessed self.
Oh, totally. It's that classic line. It's not you, it's me. and me is just too noble to stand in the way of your destiny. Yeah.
Which is just code for, you are now a depreciating asset and I am cutting my losses.
Exactly. He's treating the relationship like a business transaction. And Kit's reaction to all of this is what really hooked me on her as a character.
Me too. Because in a standard romance, this is the part where the heroine weeps, eats a gallon of ice cream, calls her mom.
Right. The big emotional breakdown.
But Kit, she doesn't weep, she doesn't beg, she doesn't do any of that.
She drinks tequila, she stares at the wall, and she immediately starts trying to find a new job. She wants to numb the pain with more labor.
She's like a shark, right? If she stops moving, she dies.
Yes. Which brings us to the intervention. Yeah. Because you can't outrun a fire and a breakup forever, even if you're Kit Roth.
And this is where Anita comes in.
Anita. We all need an Anita in our lives.
Mm-hmm.
She's Kit's best friend, but she's her total opposite in every way.
Completely. She's Italian-American, she's breezy and warm, she owns a casual trattoria where she serves simple, messy, delicious food. She's the warmth to Kit's cold precision.
And Anita looks at Kit, who is just spiraling, trying to get hired in kitchens where they're all looking at her with pity, and she just says, absolutely not.
She steps in.
She forces Kit to take a break. But she's smart about it. She knows Kit won't just sit on a beach and read a magazine. Kit needs a task.
Right, she'd go crazy.
So Anita frames it as a job. She says, I need you to go to Italy to help my grandmother, Gia or Nana, who runs a restaurant in Tuscany and needs help for the summer.
And this is a key point, and I'm so glad you brought it up, because it really sets the tone for the whole book. Kit explicitly rejects the eat, pray, love narrative.
Yes, this is so crucial.
She is not going there to find herself.
No spiritual awakening in a gelato shop.
No meditating in an ashram. She sees this purely as a temporary assignment, a gap in her resume. She actually says to John, her ex, I'm not going to find peace in a pasta bowl.
That cynicism is her armor. It's her shield.
It is. She thinks she can compartmentalize this entire summer. She thinks she can go to Italy, work hard, feel nothing, and return to New York completely unchanged. She sees herself as a closed system.
But, as we're about to see, the region of Maremma in Tuscany, it has other plans for her.
It really does.
So let's talk about the setting, because this is not the Tuscany you see on the postcards.
Not at all. I mean, when we think of Tuscany, we think of Florence, we think of Siena, these perfectly manicured vineyards.
Maybe a guy playing a mandolin while you sip some Chianti.
Exactly. We think of the tourist Tuscany. It's basically the Renaissance Disneyland. But Kit lands in a place called Maremma, which is southern Tuscany. And historically, this region it's very different.
How so?
Well, for one, it used to be swamplands. It was malarial. It had to be drained and reclaimed by, sheer force of will.
So it's tougher. It has a rougher history.
Much tougher. This is cowboy country. They literally have Italian cowboys there called buttery. It's rugged.
That's amazing.
Yeah, the book describes undulating low hills and sunshine-dappled sunflowers, but it also talks about pointy conifers. It's wilder. It's not manicured for the American tourist's gaze.
And the town she's in, Manciano, it isn't a movie set. It's lived in.
It feels real.
It does. I love the details she included about the mismatched brick on the buildings and the plastic chairs sitting outside the little shops. It felt like a real place where actual people live their lives, not just a backdrop for a romance novel.
And that reality is so crucial for Kit's arc, because Manciano has a nickname, the Spy of Maremma.
Ooh, I like that.
Historically, it's because the town is up on a hill, and you can see everything from there, from the mountains all the way to the sea. It was a strategic vantage point. But in the context of the story, it takes on a very social meaning.
The fishbowl dynamic.
Exactly. It's called the spy, because everyone knows everyone's business. There are no secrets. It is a social panopticon.
And Kit thinks she can be anonymous. She thinks she can just keep her head down, chop onions, and be invisible, the way she is in New York.
An impossible task in a town like that.
Completely. The minute she arrives, everyone knows she's Gia's new chef.
Mm-hmm.
She walks into a pastry shop for the first time, and they already know who she is and why she's there.
And that is the absolute antithesis of her life in New York. In NYC, you can be anonymous in a crowd of millions. You can hide in a kitchen behind a line, and no one cares who you are as long as the food is good.
But in Manciano.
In Manciano, the community forces itself upon you. You are watched. You are engaged with, whether you want to be or not. And for someone like Kit, who relies on isolation to maintain her sense of control, that is terrifying.
But also, maybe it's exactly what she needs.
Precisely. You can't heal in isolation, even if you think that's what you want.
So let's get into the kitchen at Gia's restaurant, Pasta Fresca, because this is where the real unlearning starts to happen.
Yeah.
Kit arrives expecting, I don't know, to be hailed as a conquering hero, maybe. She's a Michelin-starred chef. She's worked in the best kitchens in Manhattan.
Right. She has a pedigree, she expects a certain level of deference, and instead she gets Gia.
She gets Gia.
And Gia is this tiny woman. She smokes cigarettes on her breaks, and she is an absolute culinary legend who does not care one bit about Kit's resume.
Not at all.
Gia looks at this high-strung New Yorker and immediately demotes her. Kit goes from being an executive chef to kitchen scut.
The grunt. I love the scene where Kit is just dicing onions and shelling pistachios for hours and hours. It's so humbling.
It is, but it also sets up this fantastic conflict between Kit's French training and Gia's Italian intuition.
Yes, it's the central conflict of Kit's internal world, but it's externalized in food.
That's a great way to put it. Kit is all about French technique, precision, scales, exact measurements. She tries to weigh the flour for the pasta on a digital scale.
And Gia's just not having it.
No. Gia works by feel. She checks the humidity in the air. She touches the dough. She knows that if it's a rainy day, the flour will absorb moisture differently. You can't measure that on a scale. You have to feel it in your fingers.
The garlic scene was my favorite example of this. It was so perfect.
Oh, the garlic scene is brilliant.
Kit is, mincing the garlic into a fine paste because that's the proper technique for maximum flavor release.
And scientifically, she's not wrong. Mincing ruptures more cells, which releases more allicin, that sulfur compound that gives garlic its sharp bite. But Gia stops her.
And she quotes a Roman poet.
She quotes Horace, which, by the way, how cool is this grandmother? And she says, garlic is the essence of vulgarity.
I need that on a T-shirt or like a kitchen apron.
It's brilliant. Because Gia argues that mincing it releases too much sulfur, too much intensity. It's overpowering. She just slices it.
Right.
And slicing ruptures fewer cells, which creates a milder, sweeter flavor. It's a huge lesson for Kit. You don't have to beat the ingredients into submission. You don't have to extract every single ounce of intensity. You have to work with them.
And what's interesting is that Kit actually starts to find joy in that grunt work. She calls it an unlearning.
It is an unlearning. She's stripping away all the ego and the tweezers and the foams and all the complicated stuff, and she's getting back to the soul of cooking.
A process that is definitely helped by her growing friendship with Amelia.
Oh, Amelia. The pastry chef at the local shop, Belpagna. She is the cool girl we all want to be friends with.
She really is. And Amelia is the perfect counterpart to Kit because she matches Kit's intensity, but in a totally different way.
They bond over food science. They aren't talking about boys or fashion in the way you might expect in a romance novel. They are literally debating the merits of white flour versus whole wheat.
I laughed out loud at their conversation about fecal analysis.
It's not your typical girl talk, is it?
Yeah.
But it's so authentic to how people in that industry actually talk and connect.
No. Amelia's arguing that whole wheat is basically a scam because studies show we don't absorb the vitamins from it anyway, so we might as well just eat the delicious white flour pastries.
It's such a specific, nerdy thing for two chefs to bond over.
It is, but it shows that Kit is finding her tribe. She's finding intellectual intimacy. And Amelia is also the one who really pushes Kit to gain some agency in this new world.
Right. She bullies Kit into renting a scooter.
The scooter plot. From a woman whose husband either died or is pretending to have died. Such a great line.
It's a fantastic background detail, but the scooter itself is symbolic. It gives Kit mobility. It allows her to leave the town walls and explore on her own terms.
It forces her to engage with the landscape, quite literally, as she learns to ride it on those terrifying winding roads.
Which, of course, leads us to the reason she might want to explore that landscape in the first place.
The man.
The myth.
The olive oil miller. Nico Rispoli.
We have to talk about the meet cute because it creates a very specific dynamic between them right out of the gate.
It is a classic rom-com setup, but it's executed with such perfect chaos.
Total chaos.
Kit is up on a ladder, cleaning some flour shells at Gia's restaurant. She's blasting Olivia Rodrigo on her headphones, which so relatable. She gets startled, she falls off the ladder, and she dumps a 50-pound bag of flour all over herself in this complete stranger.
It's just instant humiliation. It's messy. It strips away all of Kit's cool, collected chef persona in a second. She's literally covered in dust. She looks ridiculous.
And there stands Nico. And he's, well, he's dreamy. The book describes him with 90s boy band hair and a little beauty mark above his lip.
Classic leading man stuff.
But what strikes Kit isn't just that he's hot. It's his energy.
Huh.
It's his reaction.
He has what we now call golden retriever energy. He's just so earnest. He's open. He has this booming laugh. He doesn't get angry that he's covered in flour.
Right. In Kit's world, the men are aggressive. They're competitive chefs shouting on the line, or they're business sharks like John, who view emotions as inefficiencies. Nico is gentle.
He's big and tall, but he uses that size to be protective, not intimidating. It's a completely different kind of masculinity than she's ever encountered.
And he has a dog. You can't forget Luce, the border terrier.
Luce is crucial. The dog is just pure chaotic energy, always jumping and licking, and it contrasts so well with Nico's general stillness and quietness.
It also shows his capacity for care.
Right?
He loves this little creature. He's a nurturer.
He is. Now, we have to unpack the widower misunderstanding because this is a major plot point, and it adds so much depth to both of their characters.
It really does. It's a fantastic device. So when Kit arrives, the town gossip mill refers to Nico's wife as being gone.
And Nico seems sad, melancholic. So Kit and the reader initially, you just assume she died. It fits the tragic backstory archetype perfectly.
Right. So Kit is tiptoeing around him, trying not to bring it up, treating him with these kid gloves because she thinks he's this grieving widower.
But then, much later, during a late-night stakeout, which we will definitely get to, Nico clarifies the situation. She didn't die. She left him.
Which is, in some ways, so much more complicated.
So much more, and the context is fascinating. The ex-wife, her name was Lorena, was actually Anita's cousin.
I forgot that detail.
Yeah, and she felt trapped by the small-town life. She was apparently expected to take over Gia's restaurant to become the next matriarch, to live this predestined life in Manciano, and she just bailed. She chose herself over the community. She chose this idea of freedom over her life with Nico.
Which is just devastating for him. He has this incredibly vulnerable line where he tells Kit, "I really felt invincible once." And then she left. She left and I broke.
Ugh. And this is what creates a really interesting mirror for Kit and Nico. Think about it.
They're both survivors of a sort.
Right. Kit was dumped by a man who basically said her ambition was too much for him. Nico was left by a woman who felt his small-town life was too little for her. They are both nursing these deep, deep wounds of rejection.
It's not just he's hot and she's pretty.
Exactly. It's a shared trauma. It creates this powerful emotional foundation for their bond. It's not just physical attraction. It's a real understanding of what it feels like to be left behind.
But the romance.
Oh,
The romance.
Sure.
The book is called The Slow Burn for a reason.
It is not kidding.
They do not just fall into bed. They build this incredible intellectual intimacy first.
Yes. And it starts with the olive oil.
I never thought I would find the mechanics of a centrifuge romantic. But here we are. This is essentially, for lack of a better term, competence porn.
Competence porn is the absolute perfect term for it.
Right.
Kit visits Nico's friend Toyo, which is his olive mill, and Nico just lights up explaining the machinery, the malaxer, the filter that he engineered himself. He's a mechanical engineer by training, remember? He is a total nerd about this stuff.
And Kit loves that because she's a nerd too.
Mm.
She respects the craft. She understands and respects that he cares about the details just as much as she does.
There's this beautiful metaphor that Nico uses during this scene. He's explaining the process of making the oil. And he says, olive oil takes a year to grow, but is made in a day.
Oh, that's good.
Isn't it? It requires all this patience, months of basically nothing happening, just the sun and the rain, and then this sudden intense period of action during the harvest and the pressing.
Which is exactly like their relationship.
Yep, exactly. It's a slow accumulation of moments of glances and conversations and shared coffees, all leading up to a singular point of change. The chemistry in that mill scene is just palpable.
And it's not about candlelight and roses.
No, it's about the silence of the machinery and the physical proximity of two people who are deeply passionate about what they make. It's the meeting of a chef and a maker. It's incredible.
And then we get the adventure, the shortcut disaster.
This scene is so pivotal for their dynamic.
So Nico tries to take a shortcut to the hot springs in Saturnia, and they end up on this rocky dirt path that is definitely not a road. The car gets stuck. Branches are scratching the paint. Super stressful situation.
In a typical romance or even a drama, this is where they would fight. Kit is stressed. She's control freak Kit. She could have totally snapped at him. She could have said, "I told you so."
But she doesn't.
Yeah.
And he doesn't get defensive or angry. Instead, they just team up.
It's so healthy.
It is. Kit gets out of the car. She uses her voice to guide him, inch by inch, reversing them out of the woods.
It's teamwork makes the dream work, but, like, for real.
It really is. And it solidifies their partnership. Nico trusts her direction implicitly. He listens to her voice. And Kit learns that she can rely on him to listen to her. It's a small moment, but it proves they function well as a unit. They don't turn on each other when things go wrong.
Which is a lesson they're both learning for the first time in a relationship.
Okay, we have to talk about the boar hunting, because this is the most Maremma subplot imaginable. It's so specific and so great.
It is wild. So the context here is that there's an ongoing conflict between Gia and a local hunter named Tommaso.
Right, because hunters accidentally shot one of Gia's cows previously.
Exactly. So Gia, being the absolute badass that she is, used to sleep outside with a rifle to protect her remaining cows.
Which is such an amazing image, but she's getting too old for that now. Her arthritis is acting up.
So Nico steps in, he takes over the cow guarding duties, and Kit, feeling this new loyalty to Gia and, to Nico, she volunteers to help him.
And the imagery of this is so cozy and yet so tense at the same time. You have sleeping bags, these bright reflector vests sitting against a tree in the pitch dark, just waiting for hunters or wild boars.
It creates this intense forced proximity. They're in a bubble.
They are. The rest of the world just falls away. It's just them, the stars, and the potential threat of boars. Yeah. And that is where we get the climax of the emotional arc in this entire section of the book.
Chapter 14, The Almost.
The Almost. Let's really unpack this scene because it subverts so many expectations of the genre.
It really does. So it's nighttime. They're sitting against a tree. They're tired. They're cold. The intimacy is building. And Nico starts picking little olive leaves out of Kit's hair.
Which is such a tender, intimate gesture. It's grooming. It's primal. It's so caring.
It is. And Kit, for the first time, she acts purely on impulse. She drops the control. She initiates the kiss. She leans in.
And the description is amazing. The smell of the outdoors, the fizzy feeling in her body, you are rooting for it. As a reader, you are just screaming at the page, finally.
And then Nico stops it.
He stops it.
Before it can even really begin, he pulls back. And his reasoning is just heartbreakingly mature.
So mature. He tells her, I can't kiss you and then watch you leave.
My heart just cracks.
I know.
Because he admits his vulnerability. He says he broke when his wife left, and he can't survive that again. He says he needs his heart intact. And then he says he values her friendship too much to turn it into a temporary fling.
And Kit's reaction is surprising too, isn't it? She doesn't get angry. She doesn't feel rejected in a shameful way. She just accepts it.
She understands.
She does. And she realizes in that moment that she needs a friend more than she needs a hookup.
And that right there is the slow burn. It respects the emotional stakes of these two broken people. If they had kissed then, it would have been just a summer fling. It would have been easy.
Right.
By stopping, Nico is saying, you are worth more than a moment to me. It raises the stakes for the entire rest of the book. It's delayed gratification, which makes the eventual payoff, assuming there is one, so much sweeter.
It really does. It makes you care about them as people, not just as a potential couple.
I want to zoom out a little bit and talk about some of the themes here, because Ali Rosen is doing some really interesting work with gender roles in this story.
Yes, the softness versus hardness dynamic.
Exactly. Traditionally in romance novels, the man is the hard one, stoic, unfeeling, the alpha male, and the woman's job is to soften him.
Right.
Here, it's completely reversed. Kit prides herself on being tough. She's a rower, she's a chef in a brutal, male-dominated field. She even says she's not feminine. She wears her hardness like a suit of armor.
And Nico is the soft one. He has gentle hands. He's emotionally honest and available. He cries, or at least he admits to profound sadness. He has a tiny, fluffy dog.
The book is largely about Kit learning to accept softness, not just from Nico, but for herself.
What do you mean?
Learning to hug Anita without being stiff. Learning to just sit and enjoy a view without feeling like she's wasting time. Realizing that being tough doesn't mean being numb. She learns that you can be strong and soft at the same time.
And then there's the theme of community versus isolation.
A huge one. Kit starts the book as a committed isolator. She wants to be alone in her apartment with her books.
But the town and its people, they just wear her down. In a good way.
In the best way. By the end of this section of the book, she's become a pillar of the community. She's out there protecting cows. She's debating the local palio with the old men in the piazza.
Oh my God, the Calio. We have to mention the palio.
Show the barrel race.
It's so hilarious. So the town used to have a horse race, a palio like Siena. But because of animal rights concerns, They now race barrels down the hill instead.
But they take it just as seriously. It is deadly serious.
It's a perfect example of the fishbowl effect.
Yeah.
You can't escape the town's quirks. You have to participate. And Kit finds herself genuinely caring about who wins the barrel race.
And that is a long, long way from the woman who just wanted to stare at a wall in New York. It shows she has started to care about things that have absolutely no career value. She's caring for the sake of caring.
It brings up that final big conflict of ambition versus life.
For sure. John, the ex-boyfriend, represented pure ambition. Everything was transactional. I'm leaving you because you're bad for my brand right now.
And Nico represents the mystery.
I like that. What's a mystery?
He talks about how olive yields vary from year to year without any clear reason. He appreciates the process, not just the result. He teaches Kit that you can work hard. He works incredibly hard, but you also have to accept that you don't control everything.
Sometimes the harvest is bad. Sometimes the rain doesn't come. You have to live anyway.
Which is a lesson Kit desperately, desperately needs to learn.
She really does. She needs to learn that her value as a person isn't tied to her output as a chef.
So where does that leave us? As we wrap up this deep dive, where are our characters in this moment?
Well, the cavalry has arrived. Anita is now in Italy.
With snacks?
With nosh sticks, which I can only assume are some kind of processed American snack that Kit loves.
A taste of home. Or maybe a taste of the artificial past she's trying to escape.
Ooh, good point. Exactly. Her arrival disrupts Kit's new, quiet routine. It forces Kit to confront her two worlds colliding. The peaceful life in Maremma is suddenly being intruded upon by her loud New York best friend.
And Kit and Nico are in this incredibly fragile, just friends state. They held hands, they almost kissed, but they drew a very clear line in the sand.
And looming in the background, the restaurant in New York City, Anita mentions that it's being rebuilt and it's happening suspiciously fast and that John, the ex, is involved.
So ominous, it feels like a threat.
It is. It suggests that the real world is coming back for Kit much sooner than she thinks. The siren call of the kitchen, the ambition, that rooted, succulent identity is going to come knocking on the door.
So here is the final provocative thought I want to leave our listeners with.
Okay.
Kit believes she can compartmentalize. She thinks she can have this Italian summer, this little side quest, and then return to New York and be the rooted succulent again. Just plug herself back into the pot.
But the question is, can she? Can a succulent that has actually tasted the sun, that's felt the rain, can it really survive being put back in a dark, climate-controlled apartment?
Ooh, I like that a lot.
Is the slow burn of the title referring to the romance with Nico? Or is it referring to the slow burning down of her old life, her ambition, her rigidity, her armor, to make room for a new version of herself to grow?
That is the question. And I have a feeling that the fence mending, both the literal fence she's building to protect the cows and the metaphorical fence around Kit's heart, is going to be tested very soon.
Absolutely. You'll have to read the book to find out if it holds up.
The Slow Burn by Ali Rosen. It's smart, it's steamy, and it will make you crave pasta like nothing else. Go check it out. Thanks for diving in with us today.
Thanks, everyone. Keep reading.